the news which we are getting, and we are analyzing unverified reports from social media, purely analyzing them from documentary and educational point of view, strictly following the YouTube community guidelines. And we have very important news. The first is, we'll tell you that now there are three aircraft carriers in the which are taking part in the naval blockade of Iran by US, and we'll tell you the details, how much aircraft carriers and destroyers are taking part in this naval blockade, and whether the naval blockade is successful or not, and whether has any Iranian vessel bypassed this naval blockade or not, and also has Iran also seized some vessels. There are reports, and we'll show you the operation which Iran conducted and then seized two vessels which were allegedly helping USA. So Iran launched an operation to seize those. We'll tell you this in a few minutes. Stay with us, and let's move to some important news which we have now. This is a KC-135 stratotanker tanker at Israeli airports, and they are refueling tanks, basically, that fuel jets. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi has left Iran, and he is planning to go to Pakistan today for critical talks which are taking place in Islamabad. Pakistan is attempting to broker a second round of direct negotiations between the US and Iran to end the 2-month conflict. A naval blockade on Iran remains in place. Oil prices have climbed up to $105 per barrel, and the standoff continues while the US President Trump has issued strict directives regarding Iranian vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. While President Donald Trump has announced a 3-week extension of Israel-Lebanon ceasefire yesterday, Hezbollah has reportedly rejected this move, and Israeli strikes on Lebanon continues, with the defense minister of Israel, Katz, says on that they will bomb Iran to the dark ages and the stone ages. Let's move to the news that Abbas Araghchi has gone to Pakistan tonight, and a US logistics and security team is already on the ground, signing that direct engagement, through incredibly tense, is still the preferred path of a return to full-scale war. The US has proposed a 15-point plan, a framework that reportedly demands zero enrichment of nuclear material and the surrender of certain missile technologies. Iran has countered with the demand for immediate lifting of all maritime and economic sanctions as a precondition for nuclear concessions. Yesterday, the White House has announced the 3 weeks extension of the Israeli-Lebanon ceasefire. Despite the official extension, the ceasefire is paper thin. Today, the Israeli military reported striking several Hezbollah sites in southern Lebanon in response to the rocket fires. The major diplomatic hurdle is that Iran and Pakistan argue that the ceasefire should cover both Iran and its regional allies like Hezbollah, and the US and Israel have treated the Lebanon and Iraq tracks as separate conflicts. the oil, and the economic impact is that Brent crude has surged around 105 to $120 per barrel. The Qatar's energy has been forced to declare force majeure or LNG exports, causing gas prices in Europe to spike by 60%. IMF has cut global growth forecast to 3.1% for 2026, and uh, the global inflation is now projected to be 4.5 and percent, with adverse scenarios warning that 5.4% if the blockade persists this summer. Economies like India and Japan and South Korea, which import nearly 95% of their oil from the Gulf, are seeing their currencies weakening and producing production skyrocketing. The code demands from US are that the immediate cessation of all uranium enrichment on Iranian soil and handing over all material to IAEA, and decommissioning and destruction of the Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow facilities. And in response to that, the sanctions relief is guaranteed by US. Let's see some of your comments now. If you people have commented, let's see some comments. There have been 2 votes, and the question was success percentage of Iran's naval blockade by US. 50%, 80%, or 10%, 100%, and 50%. There are 3 votes now, and with 33% each. With that, we move to the next story. Stay with us. We have the most important story now, and we'll share you the most important story. The story of today is how much successful is the naval blockade. How much successful is the naval blockade by US, and has any vessels dodged the US naval blockade? Has any Iranian vessel dodged the US blockade, and how much successful is this blockade? Now we'll tell you the details of the blockade, and was it successful or not, and how and which what are the constituents of the Navy which has done a blockade of Iranian ports. Let's begin with this news. And we tell you that 2 nuclear powered aircraft carriers are currently on station: the USS Abraham Lincoln, which is Carrier Strike Group 3, and the USS Gerald Ford, which is the Carrier Strike Group 12. They are in place, with reports that another Carrier Strike Group and the 3rd USS carrier, George W. Bush, is also heading towards Middle East. That would constitute 3 carrier strike groups within the striking range of the facilities, and they will be doing blockade of Iran. The blockade fleet consists of at least 15 major. We are back live again, and there was a technical error and a technical glitch due to which the live streaming went off air. We are analyzing social media footages purely from documentary and educational purposes and analysis and point of view. We strongly follow the YouTube community guidelines, and we were telling you that what are the main ships and carrier strike groups which are taking part in this blockade. And this blockade consists of 3 carrier strike groups: the USS Gerald, the USS George W. Bush, and also the USS Gerald, USS George W. Bush. These are 3 carrier strike groups which are taking part in the naval blockade of Iran. Let me again tell you that which 3 carrier strike groups have taken part in the naval blockade. These are the USS Abraham Lincoln, USS Gerald Ford, and USS George W. Bush, which is now heading towards Middle East as well. And 15 major warships are taking place with 11 destroyers, and US Navy is also clearing the mines as well. These are Special Ops, and Delta, SEAL, and Team 6 Rangers are active. Also, let's now move towards the weather. The main question that whether the naval blockade is successful or not. The naval blockade of Iran was successful or not, and we'll tell you that the naval blockade hasn't met with much success as claimed by US. I'll finding out footages to share it with you. The naval blockade. Independent monitoring suggests that at least 26 to 34 tankers have successfully bypassed the US blockade since it began on 13th of April. Approximately 19 tankers linked to Iran have managed to exit the Gulf of Oman. At least 6 of these were confirmed to be carrying Iranian crude oil, totaling about 10.7 million barrels. Roughly 15 vessels have managed to slip through the blockade to enter Iranian ports. The tactic they are using is that several tankers, including reportedly moved through the strait under the cover of night to reach northern Iranian terminals. So to summarize that data, there have been 26 to 34 vessels which have bypassed the the US naval blockade of Iran, and carrying 10.7 million barrels of oil, whereas the US claims that, and the CENTCOM claims are that zero vessels have managed to bypass, but independent sources says that 26 to 34 at least have passed. And let's move to the operation which Iran has conducted. And Iran has conducted operation to seize the ships known as MSC Francesca and Epaminondas. These two vessels and ships have been captured by and seized by Iran, and we are now finding out the visuals, and we'll tell you the operation and the details and the videos once I find out these for you, and I'll tell you along with the footages that Iran has launched. Iran has conducted an operation and they have captured this MSC Francesca and Epaminondas. This was the operation done. Tehran claims these vessels were violating maritime law. The MSC Francesca and Epaminondas, Tehran claims they were violating maritime law and tampering with navigation systems. However, international analysts view this as a direct response to the Tuska incident and the US extension of the naval blockade. According to the UK Maritime Trade Operations, the MSC Francesca was fired upon by IRGC gunboat about 15 miles northeast of Oman, causing heavy damage to the bridge before the crew was forced to surrender and the ship was towed to Iranian waters. Iran's mission to the UN is currently demanding the release of the Tuska, claiming it was carrying critical dialysis supply and medical equipment, while the US maintains the ship was targeted for attempting to break the blockade at 17 knots while sanctioned for prior illegal activity. So this is the time when MSC Francesca was seized and the people were taken as hostages by IRGC. This was in US claims that this was in direct response to what the Tuska incident, and when Tuska incident happened and Iran's Tuska incident happened and that vessel was taken into custody by US. Thank you for joining us, and subscribe the channel, and we'll join you at some other time with some more news. Take care of yourselves. Thank you.